Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shun Smith from Japan. Listen, I found a very interesting video on YouTube recently that is called What Not to Do in Japan. Do you know about it? Some Brits guy making this video looking at the views. It's 16 million views. That is incredible, isn't it? Right, I think I should make a reacting video with this video. Then I can get many views by this. But actually, things are not so easy. There are already many Japanese reacting videos, unfortunately. Do you think it's too late? I was thinking right, I should take it the another way. Then one idea came up to my mind, which is a Japanese guy reacting to a Japanese guy, reacting to Brits Guy. How's that sounds? You know, I think even Japanese people can tell you wrong about Japanese culture. Then I thought if I react to Japanese reaction, this is gonna be more believable. Don't you think so? So in this video, I'm gonna react to Japanese reacting to 12 things not to do in Japan video made by Brits Guy. This is gonna be fun. So let's get down to it.
So walking down the street whilst eating and drinking isn't illegal. You're not going to get shouted at and you're not going to get arrested by Ace Detective Sherlock Holmes. But what you will get is the stare of disapproval. A lot of people don't know this one until you get here and never see anyone doing it. What you'll find is if someone wants to eat or drink something quickly outside, they'll buy it at the convenience store and then eat it or drink it out the front. Same with vending machines. If they buy something from the vending machine, they'll drink it there and then next to the vending machine. The main reason is people are very conscious about keeping the streets clean here, and you don't want to ruin someone else's day by having them walk through your spilt coffee. That said, all you need to do to avoid the stare of disapproval is just stop and eat and drink whatever it is there and then. Maybe it's on a bench, maybe you're just standing at the side of the road, whatever. Just don't walk whilst eating and drinking and you'll be alright.
So now, let's look at the Japanese reaction.
Kind of, but not that strict. If you Google tabearuki, which means eat and drink while walking, you can find many good places for tabearuki. For instance, in Osaka, I see a lot of people eating takoyaki while walking.
That is different.
So it doesn't make sense, right? So please don't take it seriously. There are a lot of people, including me, do drink Starbucks coffee while walking, even in Tokyo or...
He's mostly right, but things are not that strict in Japan. I often eat onigiri or rice bowl or sandwiches on the street while I'm walking, but no one gives me that uncomfortable stare. I think eating small snack is completely acceptable, but on the street while you are walking, eating something with your chopsticks or with your knife and fork, that's a different story. You are eating a dish of something, not a snack, so you are not supposed to eat it on the street. As he mentioned, you can drink alcohol on the street in Japan. That's completely legal. Just please behave yourself. You don't want to get drunk right in front of kids in the middle of the day.
Here's my comments. I generally agree with Brits Guy. Japanese people think it is bad manners to eating while walking. This has come from our virtue. But I understand what the guy in a black t-shirt said. There are actually places where you can do eating while walking in Japan. I think this is kind of new culture. You know, people wanted to drive their spending on foods and drinks, and people made many places where you can do eating while walking in Japan. So I think Japanese culture is changing. So people aren't getting too care about it. That's why. But still, he's telling the truth. I've seen many people eating while walking, especially young people doing that, I guess. But listen, for my impression to such people, I feel like, oh, shame on you, why are you so hurry up? Isn't that tiring? Just sit and relax while eating, come on. You know, there are benches even in eating while walking area. You know, people doing good manners sit and eat even in eating while walking area, like me. Maybe my parents are so strict. And as for the beard guy said, eating small snacks are okay. People don't care. I disagree with this. Like I said earlier, some traditional people are really sensitive at this point. We just don't say, don't do this. We do mind. I do mind people eating candy or chewing gum, opening the bag in front of me. Yeah, but I hear them. You can't go to jail just because of this, so don't get serious. But remember, some very, very traditional people came from ancient time like me. We do care, we do mind.
Three things to point out here. Number one, never put your chopsticks upright into the rice, as this is part of a ritual conducted at funerals when offering rice to the spirits of the deceased. Similarly, number two, never pass things from chopstick to chopstick, because again, this is done during funerals to pass the bones of cremated relatives. So that kind of imagery doesn't go down well over dinner, as you'd expect. Probably best not to conjure up imagery surrounding death before you've even had your lunch. Oh, and thirdly, don't do the rubbing of the chopsticks. You know when you open wooden chopsticks, you like to do that to get rid of the splinters, and just because it's fun. Everyone loves doing that, right? But don't do it in Japan because it's seen as rude to the owner, because you're basically saying, oh, your chopsticks are probably cheap, which, let's face it, they probably are. But in fact, they usually definitely are.
Yeah, we don't think that way, but we never do that. I don't know why so many people from overseas do this kind of thing. So this is interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree with him. So tell me, how fun? Are you from Paleolithic age? Anyway, what the Brits guy said is all. If you put your chopsticks upright into your rice, you're a dead man. Do you want to be? Definitely not, is it? Learn the manner of chopsticks and follow it. Otherwise, we will give you the proper, genuine stare of disapproval with full of contempt.
Probably the greatest thing about Japan ever, and the reason that I eat out several times a week, just because I save 20% automatically. In Japan, it's believed that customer service should always be exceptional, with staff giving 120% every time. 120%? 110%? 120%?
Depends on the person.
It's not necessarily rude,
but basically,
it just creates this awkward situation where the worker, the staff, would feel like you're assessing their performance, and they could potentially lose face. So you might think you're being nice by giving someone a tip, but you're not. You're just creating an uncomfortable situation for the worker, and they'll probably just reject your tip outright. So don't be tempted to do it.
For Japanese people, it's very hard to understand this tipping culture because we don't have one. In Japan, the price already covers all the costs. The cost of the materials, the ingredient, and service fee, rent, and some other stuff. So you don't need to pay for additional service fee. If you do that, it looks like you're buying someone's attention, or you are expecting something in return. I guess that's not your intention. So just forget about tipping here in Japan.
Yeah, he's got a good point. Although I don't really get the intention bit, but true for the price covering the service fee. So just save your money. If you like the service, just go there again. Then workers will be happy, I'm sure. So in the conclusion of this part, just pay the money as the number says. Otherwise, people think you're buying people.
I only have $1,000.
No.
There's a real emphasis on being mindful when you're using public transport in Japan that's often completely absent in many countries. Numerous of the times that I've been riding a train in the UK and someone nearby has been screaming at their partner down the phone, and I felt like I was part of the argument, like some kind of unpleasant 4D experience. But given Japan's density, it's especially important to be mindful when you're stuffed in a train alongside fellow commuters, many of whom are sleeping as well. With that in mind, don't ever talk on your phone on the train. That's a massive, no thing to do here. And even talking loudly is looked down upon. If you're on a local train or a subway train and you get a phone call, just ignore it until you get off. And if you're on a bullet train, you can go to the little compartment in between the carriages and take your call there.
He's completely right. You just saw the picture. In the train, people were packed. If everyone starts talking on the phone, it's gonna be so noisy. You cannot hear anything. Some aggressive stranger might yell at you for that.
Yeah,
when
true.
I came back from Shanghai to Japan for business trip, I got used to Chinese lifestyle. I was carelessly answered a phone call. I was talking in a ballet train, and one crew came to me and asked if I could go outside and talk. He asked me very politely, and then I realized, this is Japan. I should not talk. Luckily, nothing happened on that day, but yeah, you have to be careful.
He's got a point. True. It is definitely not allowed. You'll be troubled to do that in Japan. And here's my story. When I was a student, I was on the train, got a phone call. It was my girlfriend. Actually, I kept her waiting at the time, so I thought like, oh, I gotta take this. When I started to talk on the phone, some old guy came up to me and swore like,
I kept the bloody phone call. Otherwise, you're gonna be in trouble. I'm gonna beat you.
He looked so serious, so that was pretty scary. But I thought like he was the loudest man in the train at the time though. So in the conclusion of this part, don't pick up the phone on the train, otherwise you're fighting with bloody insane man swearing like an idiot.
I remember for the first few years that I lived here, whenever someone
point.
handed me a business card, I was utterly terrified because until then, business cards to me
I
had
know
always
how
just
you feel.
been a bit of paper or a bit of card with some writing on. But in Japan, they are so much more. Once you've exchanged business cards, the trick is to imagine you've just been handed the lost treasure of El Salvador or something. First, study it meticulously,
Yeah.
the name,
I
the
see.
job position, the details. And then either put it in your business card holder or just put it on the desk if you're at a business meeting. Just put it on the table. Never play around with business cards or put them in your back
true.
pocket
That
because
is
they're
the rule.
seen as a physical extension of the person themselves, and you don't want to stuff somebody's physical extension
you're saying
down
too
your
much,
back
aren't
pocket.
you?
If you're doing business in Japan, always carry business cards. You don't want to be that awkward foreigner who stood there writing out their name and number 50 times in 1 hour on the back of a tissue. And for the record, I am usually that awkward foreigner scribbling down my details
That's
because
a good
I do
idea,
forget to bring them.
I
And
guess.
subsequently, I hate myself when it happens.
No, I mean it's okay. To me, like business card is a bit old-fashioned. Like even I
Yeah,
get business
it's
card
way
from
too
someone,
young.
I totally never see that business card again. So instead,
Rude.
what I do is just give it my own website and Instagram.
He's
and
talking
Facebook,
about a new
so that
style.
they don't need to have these paper things. And moreover, it's much easier to understand what I exactly do.
Most of Japanese businessmen still use traditional business card, like me.
Like me.
So,
For example, if you want to exchange your name card with your client, this is your client, and you have to be below
Yeah.
than him because
Yeah, that's the
this
way.
is showing you some respect. Also, you have to hold your name card like with your both hands. That makes it look more
He must be
polite. There's so
businessman.
many small rules. I really hate it. But if you want to succeed
I always
in
do that.
Japanese company, maybe you have to learn it. But if you don't, just fuck it. I have a question. If we meet today, right now, and exchanged our business card, what would you think if I act like this?
Yep.
Oh, your name is Yuya Wannabe. Cool business card, huh? I like it. Alright, see you next time. Bye.
No.
It's funny. Yeah, if I were this person, I'll be depressed. Anyway, basically what Brits Guy said is it. Business card is physical extension of ourselves. Whether you are interested or not, you have to handle it properly. That is the matter here. Recently, some application that you can store business card as a data is getting common in Japan. Taking a picture of business card and you can take it in your phone. That is easy, isn't it? You know, we exchange hundreds of business card in a year, so it is so stupid to storing all business card. I mean, as a paper business card. It's gonna be massive volume. I know some still old-timer storing their business card in a massive box. What a drag. So in the conclusion of this part, handle business card carefully. It's like our son. But you're fine with a tissue writing your name on it.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm Shun. Thank you. Okay.
Never mind.
This is not true.
If you've got a runny nose,
it's not quite
standard
true.
procedure here is just
Not
to
that
keep
strict.
sniffing, or just to find a toilet or a broom cupboard to hide in. Blowing noses in public is pretty rude. Interestingly though, handkerchiefs are pretty popular here. Not in the way you would think though. People use them to wipe sweat off in the hot summer weather,
true, that's
or even
true.
more commonly to dry their hands in public toilets. Because surprisingly, many public toilets in Japan don't have any hand drying
we
facilities,
don't have
despite
it,
having
really.
space-age toilets that reside in the
Space-age
same room.
toilets.
It's
How
quite a
can you
weird
say that? It's
contrast
useful,
that I
innit?
don't quite understand.
I don't agree with him on this part because sneezing and blowing nose are completely normal bodily function.
Yeah,
It cannot be
completely right.
healthy. What you have to do is very simple. You have to show your effort. Try to make the sound smaller, turn your face away,
Yeah,
or
I know what you mean.
can step back. Showing some effort and respect,
Showing
then
some effort
you're
and
gonna
respect.
be fine.
It's not really specific, so let me explain. Basically, it is quite rude making some noise, especially in quiet place, but this is a physical reaction, after all, like Beard Guy said. So you can't help it sometimes, can you? So, like a Beard Guy said, blow in your nose, try not to be loud. Softly, not like, taking care of your hamster. Goodbye. Or going to the right place like a toilet or outside, then you blow your nose as much as you want. So in the conclusion of this part, show some effort and you may blow your nose. But don't be serious, otherwise you become a sniveling kid like a baby.
Physical
see.
contact in Japan isn't really a thing. You'll bow a lot, you'll
not really a
nod
thing.
enthusiastically daily, but occasionally you might shake hands with someone if they're a good friend or a business client that you get on well with. But generally, I avoid it unless someone makes the first move. And hugging in particular doesn't go down well. It's just met with expressions of awkwardness and despair.
That's true.
And also amongst couples, public displays of affection are phenomenally rare.
we
Don't be
don't
surprised
do
if you
that.
get the stare of disapproval if you're
Yeah,
kissing your
you're gonna get
partner
a stare of
frantically in the
disapproval.
street. Nice thing.
Yeah, shaking hand is fine, but we don't do hug. And yeah.
Yeah. Oh, show me your reaction more, young man. It is slack, you know. Oh well, let's see another.
Never mind.
Kissing frantically on the street, that's a big deal. In the last video, I said I was Mexicanized when I was in Taiwan
Oh,
or
did you?
Shanghai. And then I got many comments like, how? It doesn't seem relevant. That's right. Let me explain this. When I was in Taiwan, I was studying Chinese.
Oh, nice.
I had this wonderful Mexican girlfriend.
Oh,
and
great,
she introduced
fantastic.
me to most of her close friends. I was always surrounded by Mexicans. I
Nice,
hit
you're
the
popular.
piñata and I bought sombrero and I put a luchador mask. So I was Mexican. That's why I said
you're
hola
not
ni hao
Japanese
every
anymore,
time
yeah.
in the opening. I don't speak fluent Spanish, but I know these bad offensive words. Are you ready? Cállate pinche.
What are you talking about?
Anyway, Brits Guy telling the truth, getting physical is definitely not our way. People say this style comes from Chinese culture called lei. Roughly speaking, getting the distance and showing your respect. This is a part of lei. Also, because we are so grouping, people say, physical contact is the way of showing your safety, like, I'm not your enemy. Historically speaking, in Japan, since we are so grouping, you just have to show your respect and you are welcomed. We don't need physical contact to get your reliability. And listen, what I got to tell you is about sexual harassment, which is a big issue in Japan. Actually, it's getting bigger and bigger. Well, it is difficult to define the sexual harassment though, but generally, if you feel like mental distressed, it is it. And the thing is, people are getting sensitive for that. I mean, for example, touching someone's shoulder to say hi or keep at it. It's nothing for you, isn't it? But surprisingly, it can be sexual harassment in Japan, so people are very worried about the way of contact with people. The word of physical contact is almost a dead word in Japan. But actually, there is an exception, which is young and good-looking people are usually accepted with physical contact. This is nonsense, but if you aren't stressed, no issue. Imagine, are you stressed to be touched by young and good-looking people? Actually, I'm asking to Japanese though, but I'm sure they must say no. But I'm quite sure Japanese people will understand foreigner. But no guarantee. You can be in trouble by this. Be careful. So, in the conclusion of this part, don't get physical, otherwise you can go to the jail. This is only young and good-looking people allowed. Bollocks, that's not fair, man.
And I think that it should definitely be this. If you're the sort of person who feels the need to have a debate or an argument about things or throw your opinions out there constantly, people will find you obnoxious and dislikable and probably just avoid you. Embedded heavily within the culture is this idea of keeping harmony and avoiding conflict at all costs. And it's a lot easier to do that when people aren't at each other's throats, throwing around opinions. Sometimes it can be frustrating when people are just unwilling to speak their minds and give you a clear yes or no answer. I mean, one time, one of my colleagues when I was teaching, I asked him, do you have any pets? And he said to me, maybe my cat is dead. Maybe
I really don't
dead.
get this part.
What does that mean? It is dead or is it not dead? It's not Schrodinger's cat, is it? It turned out the cat was definitely dead, but he was just the sort of person that always liked to use the word maybe and just not express certainty. But if there's one reason I've never seen a fight anywhere in Japan in the last 5 years, it's probably this reason. That people are a lot more careful about expressing their opinions and holding back what they really think.
Yeah, he's right.
At this point, he's right, yeah. But of course, not everyone. Just depends on the person. But most Japanese people tend to be like this.
Yes.
Yeah, he's right.
Really think.
Japanese people always try to avoid conflict and argument. That's why in school, we are not supposed to be too decisive or judgmental. We learn how to deal with other kids by not telling your real opinion. That's why sometimes you may find Japanese indecisive.
Not really clear. Let me explain. Yep, we prefer not to voice our opinions alone, but rather share ideas with peers or our mate. In Japanese school, we have mostly grouping activity and we learn what the good organization is. Like Brits Guy said, we keep our harmony in order not to create conflicts. Like army, it's strictly controlled, following the orders. We've been taking over this idea through the ages. But it depends on people, like everybody said. Some people think this isn't alright. So, in the conclusion of this part, don't be overly opinionated. Otherwise, you are stranded on a desert island.
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered to film that one. Everyone seems to know this one already anyway. When visiting someone's house or entering a public building like a school or going to a hot spring, you take off your shoes and switch to slippers before you go in. The easiest way of knowing if you have to change your shoes is there'll be a change in elevation in the floor. So when you go in, there'll be a little stair and that's when you know. This is the one thing on the list where failing to stick to the rules will have noticeable results. A few years ago, a friend and I visited a public bathhouse in Kyoto and we went in and you're supposed to take your shoes off. For some reason he didn't. I don't know why. I don't think he noticed or saw. There was a little old woman sitting behind the entrance counter where you kind of pay, and when we walked in, she saw that he still had his shoes on, and she shot up with terrifying energy and ran over and grabbed him and took him to the front and was like, get your shoes off, get your shoes off. And that image has stayed burnt into my mind. This quiet little old woman suddenly becoming so alive and animated by this terrible event. And ever since then, I've never forgotten
Sometimes
to
Japanese old
take my
ladies
shoes
are
off
scary.
He learned his lesson.
He's right. If you go somewhere, you have to take off your shoes. There must be some signal, you know. It could be the elevation or like sign. Otherwise, how would I know that I have to take off my shoes? But don't worry, if you do this kind of mistakes, many other people would do the same, including me.
When you know.
Only foreigners. I show you Japanese. I can clearly tell where I should take them off. Well, we are very clean. In the past, we sit on the floor, whatever we do, like eating or sitting. This is kind of old, but some people still do. You can't sit on the bloody dirty floor, can you? So, in the conclusion of this part, don't forget to take off your shoes. Otherwise, you're fighting with
Ghoulish scaring witch.
This This is
For
so true,
whatever
and this
reason,
is
rubbish
so
bins
annoying.
and trash cans are disturbingly rare in Japan.
it is.
Outside of convenience stores, it can be a nightmare to find one. And the reason I put this on the list is because so many people, so many of you guys message me on Twitter saying, I'm in Tokyo and I can't find a bin, what should I do? I've wandered through Tokyo for up to 20 minutes sometimes just in search of a bin and can't find one. The streets though, despite that, are shockingly clean here because people, if they can't find a bin, they just take the rubbish home with them. It can feel like some kind of mini game sometimes, going in search for a bin, because when you do find a bin, you feel a real sense of achievement. But despite that, don't be tempted to litter. Just keep trying, and you'll find a bin.
Them away.
I think many people's solution is the same. Find a convenience store. You can throw away your trash at the convenience store.
Depends
I
on the
don't have
size.
guts. So to throw away my trash, I go to a convenience store and I buy something small, like coffee or something, and throw it away. Because I feel sorry if I don't pay for anything.
If you don't pay anything, you are refused. So like Beard Guy said, go in some convenience store is one of the solution. But all rubbish bins are located inside, and the rubbish bins are not so big like you imagine. You can't throw away rubbish like this size, so don't really believe this option. So conclusion of this part, take the rubbish home with them, like homeless.
Seems like a fairly obvious addition to the list, and yet in the UK we just cross the street whenever the hell we want, whenever there's an opening in traffic, as opposed to waiting for the green light, same as many countries. In Japan, however, people do not cross the road on a red light. It's incredibly rare, and it's one of the greatest ways of seeing this sense of order and obedience to the law that exists in Japan. If you stand at a roadside in Japan and there's no cars coming, you can't see any cars whatsoever, people still will not cross the road until it goes green. Over the years of the many friends I've had come to visit me here, this is the thing that shocks them the most. The idea of not crossing the street when there's no visible cars there. The idea of abiding by a rule that doesn't seem necessary. And yet for me personally, the main reason I abide by it is after a few years of being here, you don't want to stand out. You don't want to be this stereotypical rule-breaking foreigner. And as well as that, you don't want to run the risk of getting caught out by the police. So those are two things worth taking into consideration before you dash across the seemingly empty road.
In China, like in Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, like big cities, there are tons of video cameras everywhere on the street. So the camera and AI can recognize your face, which means they know how many times you ignore the traffic light. In Japan, we don't have many cameras, but yeah, because people are waiting for the light change. I feel sorry if I don't follow the rules. Now I'm a grown up. I cannot show my really bad behavior to like little kids, so I try to be nice all the time.
Yeah, good man. You know, we are so strict for the rules. Stop on red, go on green. Even small kids can do that. If you can't follow this simple rule, people give you the stare of disapproval, which we are good at. So, like Brits Guy said, we don't want to stand out and get that. But still, some people cross on the red, especially in a place with very few people. You know, we get a bit naughty when people don't really look at us. Poor thing Japanese. So, conclusion of this part, don't cross on the red if you don't want to be a stereotypical rule-breaking foreigner.
Last one, don't worry about not knowing anything about Japanese etiquette when you come to Japan. As I said earlier in this video, there aren't going to be any real consequences to not following any of these things, apart from maybe the footwear one. That's quite scary. You don't want to get dragged off by an old woman. The reason I say don't worry too much is because I find a lot of people come here and they're very nervous and very anxious about following the etiquette they don't really comprehend. And that includes even me. When I came here, I didn't know anything. And I was constantly anxious and nervous that I was making mistakes. But really, as a foreigner in Japan, you get kind of a free pass to make mistakes.
Yes,
people are understanding and they're kind and they will let you off. So don't become too nervous about following all the rules. Do your best, but don't become a nervous wreck. So those are my 12 things not to do in Japan.
Oh, foreigners are so nervous about the Japanese strict culture. What would you say, Beard Guy?
That's completely right. We don't judge you just by one mistake. We also understand you are nervous and trying to figure it out. I hope we are not that small-minded.
Oh, you are so kind. Everyone, here's Yuya, Japanese guy. But anyway, don't be so nervous. People will understand you. But you got to be on your toes. Because there are some witches existing in Japan, right, kid?
Please be kind to me.
So, how was it? I guess you got to know Japanese culture better watching this video. We have very strict rules here, but there are many good things at the same time. So why don't you come to Japan and touch Japanese culture? So hope you enjoyed this video. It would be great for me if you subscribe my channel. So thank you for watching my video and bye for now.